Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick video in response to RV Hobos video about a ban on stealth campers. It's not just California. He's in California and he had an officer come and knock on his RV and ask him if he was living there. Somebody had said that they heard a woman and a man yelling by an RV. It's not just California, okay? In March, I was in spring training down in Arizona, and I went to have lunch at a park. Went and picked up lunch, went to the park to enjoy the park, and the picnic tables were taken. So, decided to stay in the van and eat and just look out the front window at the park, and then I figured I'd go for a walk around the park and enjoy the park. It's the same park that I took videos of last year when I did spring training that you guys have seen on my channel. I go there every year. I enjoy the park, everything. So I was sitting there, just about to start eating lunch, just had started eating lunch, and I get a bam, 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 police on my van. Park's packed, and they're pounding on my van. So I open up the door, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And he said, well, somebody said that there was a suspicious individual in a suspicious van, and you're the only van. And I'm looking at him like, do I look suspicious? My clothes are clean, they're in good shape, my hair's not ratty, I'm clean, I'm neat, I have gray hair. I'd just gotten off work for the day and was sitting in my van having lunch. And I just kind of looked at him and goes, are you living here? It was the second thing he said to me. There wasn't a pause in between. It was like, we got a call about a suspicious looking vehicle, suspicious individual in the vehicle, and are you living here? I said, I didn't answer him yes or no. I said, I am eating lunch here. Because that's what I was doing. I was at the park eating lunch. And I pointed to my food that was right in front of the door, right by where he was standing, set out to have lunch. And he's kind of looking around. Well, we have to check these things out if people call it in. And he's kind of gazing around and trying to dodge and look around. And so finally I stepped out of the van. I'm like, you want to look? So he goes, yeah, I do. Just all combative and angry like. And he sticks his head in and he looks in and everything. And he's like, I'm like having lunch, and I held up my lunch so he could see it. I'm like, there's no picnic tables available. And I pointed over the picnic tables. I said, just having lunch. Well, you can't stay here, right? I said, I'm having lunch. After that, he kind of was mellow. I mean, he was never rude. He was just... I would say it was more of an attitude of combative. He was being very aggressive about his manner, about his way of speaking. It was completely uncalled for. I mean, I'm not a little old lady, but I'm not exactly a threat. There's nothing about me that screams threat. Danger. Danger, Will Rogers. No, there's nothing. Anybody who knows me, anybody who's seen me in real life, you guys have seen me on here. Do I look like a threat? And no, everybody tells me I don't, so, But that's not just it. That was Arizona. Now, I'm in Colorado. And last night, I was parked. And somebody became pounding on my van. Started pounding on one side and walked all the way around, pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding. I had no idea who it was. I try to look kind of out, and all I see is bright headlights, bright lights from a vehicle, shining in through the front window. And then a flashlight, really bright, shining in. Nobody says anything about who they might be, no self-identifier, nothing. And then all of a sudden, my van is rocked. I mean, just rocked so bad, I had to grab things from the shelves that I had left out when I went to bed to keep them from falling off, and I had to put them on the floor. I mean, really, side to side, rocking this van. Completely freaked me out. I grabbed the phone and I started looking for the non-emergency number. I should have just called 911. But I felt like, well, I'm not currently in imminent danger of dying, as far as I know. And I'm not bleeding to death. And I haven't shot anybody, or been shot. So I'm figuring, do the non-emergency number, find out if it's one of their, I want to find out if it's one of their officers outside my vehicle. So I was looking for the non-emergency number, struggling. Siri couldn't find it. It kept coming up with city this, city that. And except for non-emergency number. Couldn't get her to get it up. Well, then all of a sudden the car pulls away. The headlights are out. The car pulls away. So I look out and I see it's this little tiny security car. So local security hired by whoever. Little itty bitty car. And it's driving away from the thing. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously they don't want me here. I'll just leave. So I climb up front and I try to start Gus. And of course, he's having problems with the starter, so wouldn't start. And here comes this little vehicle zipping around the other side. He went around the building and zipped back instead of checking out the whole entire complex. Zipped back, shined his bright lights, saw me in here, shined his bright lights dead on me. Totally blinded me, couldn't see a thing. There was no way I was opening anything for him at that point. Shined his bright lights on me, still trying to start Gus. Finally, Gus started on the 6th or 7th try. I don't even know. Finally, Gus turned over. I turned on my lights. Once I turned on my headlights, he turned his brights off. And I pulled up next to him, and he wouldn't even look at me. Didn't even bother to look at me. So I stayed there, and I waited. And I stared at him, till finally he looked at me, and I'm like, hello, McFly. And he gets out of his car, and I'm like, are you the guy who shook my van? And he goes, yeah, that was me. I said, you did not declare who you were. I said, I was not going to open up for somebody pounding on my van and then shaking it. I said, if you had told me who you were, if you had just called out, I said, I would have rolled down a window and talked to you. I said, but as it was, I almost called the police because I was scared about who was outside my van shaking my van. He says, well, I did call the police. And I'm like, I stayed here, I stopped here, and I was here because I thought this would be a safe place for me. I said, because I'm having problems with my van, and I don't want to call a tow truck in the middle of the night. And he goes, yeah, I heard you were having problems with your starter. I said, yeah. And I said, but it's running now, so I can go. And he's like, yeah, you can't stay here. I'm like, I work here. I said, that's why I was here. And he didn't say anything. He just looked down at the ground. And I said, can you give me directions to the nearest Firestone? Because I'm like going, I'll just go there, see what they can do about the starter or whatever. And he goes, directions to Firestone? And I'm like, yeah, my vehicle's not working right. Firestone. He goes, yeah, okay. So he looked him up on his phone, told me how to go. And then he followed me. Not just out of the parking lot, not just out of the complex area, all the way down the street, more than 2 miles down until I got to the highway, which was where I needed to turn to go to Firestone. He followed me all the way down there. Now, he was a security guard, so his job was probably to make sure that there's no vehicles, nobody in there, no suspicious activity. I get it. But he did not call out who he was, and he expected not to get shot. There's problems with that because there are people, I'm not one of them, but there are people who will shoot first and ask questions later. Okay? For me, I was going to call the police. The police would have come out because if he hadn't drove off when he did, I was going to call 911 and report him for trying to break into my vehicle. I don't know what I would have done if he had escalated it more than shaking the van. I don't know what I would have done. Because I was in a situation where I couldn't just start up and drive away. Here's the thing. I don't know if they're just more aware of us now, for whatever reason. Or if there's just so many of us now they can't continue to look away like we're not there. those of us who are stealth or RV full-timers. But in Arizona, when that police officer said I was suspicious, somebody reported me as suspicious, I was so insulted. I felt completely profiled because of the vehicle I'm driving, because it's not a new vehicle. It's a 1995. It looks like it's had a hard life. It's a work vehicle. And I felt profiled. Like, because I didn't have something new and modern, that's why I was suspicious. It's getting to be a point of the haves and have-nots. I'm finding numerous RV parks. Because I've wanted just to go to an RV park and stay in my van. Because I knew that would be someplace safe I could stay. I was willing to pay for it. And they wouldn't let me in. Because my vehicle was older than 5 years old. 5 years. I don't want a vehicle that young. That's expensive. And it's got everything in the world that can go wrong with it. Because it's got all the high computer everything. And so it's expensive to maintain. It's expensive to purchase. Anything goes wrong, it's all super expensive to fix or replace. And difficult to do it yourself. So you have to take it into a mechanic. Or dealership, God forbid. I don't know if they're profiling us because there's been enough on the road that have been a bad element in the past. People hiding from the law. People not cleaning up after themselves and just leaving a disaster. Not respecting the land. Not respecting their environment or the community they're in. But I really don't appreciate being profiled like that because of the vehicle I'm driving. I have friends that have new RVs, and they don't have any problem. They don't get knocked on at night. They can park pretty much everywhere, and they're left alone. But those of us who have older vehicles, we're the ones that get bothered. I could have $1 million in my bank account, and they would never know. I could just live really frugally. They have no idea. But yet they're still profiling me as being a bad element, something they don't want around, because I'm in an older vehicle. It's not right. It's a really bad commentary on where our country is going and the overall perception that people have. I feel like they're trying to force us all to live the status quo by making it harder for us to live outside the status quo. Even in my job, they're like, you're going to get an apartment soon, right? And I went, yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not going to get an apartment. I'm not going to pay somebody $1,200 a month or more for a studio apartment, which makes it just barely enough for me to pay my basic bills and have no life. Can't afford to go to the mountains because I can't even afford the fuel. Anytime I have to fix anything, it's going to be a huge tragedy. I'm not going to live that life. That life was killing me. And I'm not okay with it. And I shouldn't be forced to do it. My friends who are out there traveling, be careful. Watch where you stay. Don't get trigger happy if you have weapons of any kind. If someone's pounding on your vehicle and you don't know who it is, they're not identifying themselves, call the police. You have every right to call the police to protect yourself and to get them out there on your side. And if it's the police who are pounding on your door, they're going to know that when you call. And they'll be able to say, oh yeah, we have an officer out there. And then you can get the badge number and everything. And then ask the individual to identify themselves before you open a window to talk to them, before you show your face, especially before you open a door. But don't, when they're on the aggressive side, don't meet it with aggression, because that just escalates things. So be better than that. Be calm, be relaxed, have a relaxing tone, let them know you don't mean any harm. And ask them, if they say, hey, you can't stay here, say, do you know of a safe place that I can stay? And if you've looked into places like RV parks or whatever and they won't let you stay because you have an older vehicle, then tell them that too. Because they need to know that that's a problem in their community. Anyway, that's what I got. Be safe out there, my friends. Take care, y'all.